Yes, good morning and welcome to the very first edition of NNH Moments with Ashley. With me in the studio, I have pharmacist Benson Onyekachi. He's a UK-based pharmacist, and today we're talking about high blood pressure, also known as hypertension. But before we roll in, high blood pressure or hypertension has been a significant health concern in Nigeria. It's a chronic medical condition that has been attributed and characterized by high blood pressure in the arteries. Recently, you know, one of the most popular actors, Jamie Foxx, he had an issue of blood clots in his brain, and now he's paralyzed and having issues with his sight. It's a problem. And it's also widespread in Nigeria. It's affecting both the rural and urban dwellers. And factors have shown that there are issues to do with lifestyle choices, issues to do with genetic predisposition, as well as cultural issues and access to healthcare. So today we have an expert. He's based in the UK. He knows what to talk. He knows about the issue. So I always throw a bomb. The bomb is meant to show that you're human and you're subject to other humans. We need to know about you since you're out in the public. And I want to ask you, have you ever been so angry in your life you want to kill someone? Like, stab him or kill him?
I wouldn't say kill someone. No, I wouldn't go to the extent of killing someone. But I've been very angry to the point where, I'm trying to think.
Even in secondary school, did you have somebody who didn't like, your neighbor, your colleague, some annoying human being?
Well, no. I can't think of any instance where I would want to harm someone.
Are you married?
I am indeed, yes.
If you saw a man slapping your wife and touching her...
Oh yeah, I'll kill him.
Thank you. Welcome to the show. So, all right, we're talking about high blood pressure. Let's look at, so what do you consider as the main risk factors that contribute to the high prevalence of this condition, especially in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, it's mainly unawareness. High blood pressure, we refer to high blood pressure as a silent killer. And that is said because there's hardly any symptoms with high blood pressure. People can walk around going about their daily activities, their daily businesses, and unbeknown to them, they have high blood pressure. And the only way you can know that your blood pressure is high is by checking your blood pressure, having a blood pressure test. The main factors for Nigeria is unawareness, and that is because, like I mentioned, it does not give you any symptoms. Most of the time, people actually only are in the know when it's too late, when they've suffered a stroke or other complications. So the campaign would be to encourage people to check their blood pressure, especially people who are 40 and above, to check their blood pressure. There are places where you can check your blood pressure. You can make use of your community pharmacy. You can walk into any pharmacy and ask your pharmacist to check your blood pressure. It's absolutely free in some places.
Okay.
Or for a token of 200 naira, 300 naira, you can check your blood pressure, and that would save your life.
Okay, there was an instant where I had constant headache, symptoms of malaria, and I went to a health facility, and they checked my blood pressure with this funky machine.
Sure.
They plug this, and
Sure.
they said it was 150 over
Sure.
90, and I screamed. I said, I have never, ever had that. So I was worried. And the doctor looked at it and said, wow, this is serious. He did it again. There was a slight fluctuation, 135. She said, no, let's go back to the good old SIG.
Yes.
And when they went back to the SFIG, it was normal. It was 120 over. So it was a normal thing. Now, a lot of people buy these self-tests,
Devices.
digital devices. Some use their phones, some the health facilities on their phones. Are those equipment, are they as reliable as they make them out to be?
I think the Ministry of Health should decipher what devices people use. I think that they should be calibrated. People would have devices that probably the batteries are not functioning properly. People might have devices that have not been calibrated for, over 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But most of the devices that are used in the primary health care and in the hospital, they are accurate.
Okay. All right. So now, yes, in some countries in America, they have a dietary preference. Nigerian diet, our lifestyle, does that contribute to high blood pressure? We do a lot of rice, yam, tuwo, bigiri. Was it bigiri, right?
Bigiri.
We do a lot of that, and we do a lot of red meat as well. A lot of things people say we should stay away from. So is that really a factor in contributing to high blood pressure?
I mean, yes, they are, but the two main ones would be salt and oil, and that is why in a study, it was found that the prevalence of high blood pressure is quite high in the southeast and not central. And that is because of the amount of salt and oil that they use in their food. Salt contains sodium, and sodium constricts blood vessels. So it's actually the sodium in the salt that we are wary of. So, and one of the lifestyle changes for people who are at risk of having hypertension, or people who already have hypertension and at risk of having complications due to hypertension, like kidney failure, heart failure, even vascular dementia is a complication of hypertension. So we say to them, do not eat too much salt. Do not eat too much oil. Do not drink too much alcohol and caffeine. I can see you like your coffee, but
guilty as charged.
If you take coffee at minimal, regular exercises. I can say that in recent years, Nigerians are beginning to understand the importance of going to the gym, or if you can't afford the gym, either because of money or because of time, brisk walking, half an hour every day. Some people do say they walk around in their workplaces, or their type of businesses involve them walking around. So they term that to be their exercise for the day. But we do say that except there's an outburst of heat when you do exercise, then you haven't exercised.
Okay, so now I met a chef once. He says to me, I said, I don't use so much salt. I like to use, I use a seasoning. He says, that's worst. But he recommends that we stay off the seasoning and use a pinch of salt. And some people say they don't use salt at all, and they just use crayfish or some natural thing. But I will confess, it is literally an uphill task for me to eat something that I don't feel the pang, the sweetness.
Right.
So it's at my age, it's difficult. Those lifestyle changes is difficult. So are we encouraged to bring out of our children?
We're not saying to do away with salt. We're saying cut back on salt. Yes, children need salt and iodine to grow.
Yes.
But as an adult, especially when you hit the age of 40 and above, you must start taking these lifestyle changes serious, because after 40 you begin to pile on weight, and which is a risk factor too when you're overweight. is a risk factor for hypertension. And after 40, your organs begin to, your kidney function, liver function, and all the organs begin to slow down. Your body metabolism begins to slow down. So that's why we're saying people should keep an eye on their blood pressure. The complications are very bad. I mean, I come from a family where we have a history of stroke and history of hypertension. So, and also your family history, if you do have a family history of hypertension, you're more likely to have hypertension if you don't do anything about it.
Okay, now, yes, so there are cultural challenges and several other factors that stop the average Nigerian from implementing the necessary lifestyle changes. Now, what about the healthcare professionals? What are the challenges they face in trying to deal with this, especially in diagnosing hypertension and also treating it? What kind of challenges do healthcare professionals face? Because that is the future for policies, for policy level.
I believe that Nigerian professionals are well equipped with the knowledge to face the challenges, the health challenges in the country. But where we have the problem is having the equipment. It will be shocking to say that in some primary healthcare centers, you may not find a blood pressure monitor. I won't mention states' names on air, but there are places you go and the simplest of equipment, like I just mentioned, you won't find them.
It's fake.
You can the digital ones now. They're not more than 20,000, 30,000, and these are funds that should be earmarked by the people who are responsible for the community. In the UK, for example, a lot of funds go into primary healthcare, and that's because the primary healthcare is the bedrock of the health system. If you get it right at the community level, where you're preventing this condition, it's cheaper. So I'll give you a layman example. So, for example, I come into the pharmacy, or I come into, we call it the surgery, the little clinics. We call it clinics here, we call it surgery over there. In the primary healthcare, you go into the surgery or the clinic in Nigeria, and I check your blood pressure, and I identify you as hypertensive. Okay, we run the test, and I put you on blood pressure tablets. In Nigeria, blood pressure tablets, amlodipine, they're going to cost 100 naira, 200 naira. So in the long run, you're spending 100 naira to keep your blood pressure at a stable level. That is cheaper for you than getting a stroke.
And that's a whole different cost regime.
Exactly.
Physiotherapy.
And that's if you survive it.
Yeah. Oh.
So the UK is pushing a lot of funds into prevention, into campaigns. In Nigeria, we have the billboards full of politicians and political campaigns. Why don't we use the billboards, to push out things like, if you're over 40, you need to check your blood pressure.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we need to start looking into, educating the community, make use of what we have. Things like religion. We are very religious people. We go to the mosques, we go to the church, to churches. Why don't we train the people in the church about healthcare?
Yeah.
Why don't we have nurses in the church? Why don't we have
just run routine blood tests as they come and go?
Exactly.
Just, if you want to just check.
And then people are able to know. It's not because, yes, we believe in Christ for healing, but we have come to the point in life where we have science. God has given us this knowledge. We have science. We've got doctors and In those days, we didn't have all of these things, so it was based on belief. But now we have science, and if you want to quote the Bible, there's a place in the pool of Bethesda where a fellow was always coming every year to a river to dip himself in the river so that he gets healed. But when Jesus Christ came, this unbeknown to him, he didn't know that there was a new system of healing, which was Jesus Christ. So he was still expecting someone to put him in that water. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this guy's knowledge is not updated. He doesn't know about the new therapy. And that's what's happening to us. We don't know the new therapy that's available because we're not studying, we're not pushing out that campaign, we're not saying to people, for your diabetes, there's a new drug in town. You might ask your doctor to see if it's appropriate for you. People are not being enlightened.
Okay, so now, are there diagnosing, managing these kind of health challenges in the rural area?
Mm-hmm.
There must be a difference because you can talk to somebody in the urban environment and say, look, listen, do more exercises, go to the gym, and then when they have it, go here, go there. So what are there must be differences in doing that in the urban environment and the same thing in the rural environment, because where are the gyms in the rural environment?
True, but if you look at it holistically, the people in the rural area are actually in a better position to have better health if supported, because they don't drive in cars, they don't live sedentary lifestyles, they have greens, vegetables, they eat. They have access to grains, they have access to vegetables, they walk long distances, they walk miles.
Do they have access to the medication?
Medicines.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is. Access to medicines.
What do you call it? What's that one? The simple one? What do you call it?
Amlodipine.
Amlodipine.
Yes.
Is that available in the rural areas?
You would have to go to town to get medicine. There are patent medicines men, which I am also an advocate of, because all our doctors are running away. Our pharmacies they're all migrating.
You sound a bit guilty there. The pharmacists are migrating, but yeah, go ahead. A friend of mine actually says that there's nothing like brain drain. He says it's actually brain gain that when they all go there,
they gain.
They take over the environment and
sure.
create a new level of competence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm advocating for us to use what we have. These patent medicine men have been in our culture for a very long time, and they are trusted. They're trusted by the communities, because they've been there. They are in every nooks and crannies.
So how can the government? So how is that going to be made into a program? Because you've just mentioned it. There's need for engagement at the community level.
Sure.
There's need to have the primary healthcare medications available at the community level.
Sure.
What would you say to a government? As you mean, a government is just sworn in now, and you say, look, this is a problem. What kind of structure would that kind of campaign and engagement at the community level look like?
I would say pay the nurses more to move into the rural areas. Pay the doctors more to move into rural areas. These things have worked in the UK. If you're a pharmacist and you work in London, you're probably earning about, as a local pharmacist, you're probably earning about 25 pounds per hour. But if you go to the rural area like Cornwall, you're earning up to 50, 60 pounds per hour.
Cornwall is a beautiful area.
It is. So these are the incentives that governments can give to healthcare professionals, even teachers, and say, all of you are running away from the rural areas. You want to go to the urban areas, but come, if I pay you more, can you be in the rural areas? That way, the healthcare access will be upscaled in the rural areas, and also medicines needs to. I find that in Nigeria we are used to brands. We like Panadol instead of paracetamol, and that's because of our culture. We like the big names, the Mercedes, the Lexus, and all of that. But in places like the UK, where they like their own, products. They like the Vauxhall. If you buy Vauxhall, and the road tax will be cheap. The fuel consumption is cheap, and even buying the vehicle is cheap because it's indigenous. So I'm thinking that Nigerians should go into production, producing generic medicines. The little things like metformin, the glycoside, the amlodipine, we must produce them locally. I mean, Turkey has the highest number of generic productions. If you're buying paracetamol, for example, for 100 naira, Panadol will be, 500, 700 naira. Using generic products rather than branded products, whereas they have the same active ingredients, it's just the branded, is the way forward.
Okay, there's a new tax regime that just came in place recently. The federal government raised taxes on beer, taxes on other imported products, and there was a major aspect where they placed increased taxes on several drugs, medication, and the emphasis was, if you're bringing these in, this is the cost. If you're manufacturing them locally, there's different tax regime. So, touching that and what you said about patent medicine dealers, do you see that as an investment incentive? Is that an investment area for people who have, who are interested in starting business? Because it looks to me like a gap that needs to be filled. Would you encourage people to come and invest?
I mean, I don't have the knowledge to answer that question, because I don't know about the tax differences. But what I do know that though they are increasing the taxes on importing drugs, what about the raw materials? The raw materials, or the taxes on the raw materials are higher than importing the drugs. And I think that is the reason why people would prefer to import drugs than to import the raw materials and produce them here. But as long as for us to move forward, the raw materials, the taxes on the raw materials should be low for people who are willing to go into manufacturing. We need to start manufacturing our own medicines, as well as our own foods.
Okay, so we have the rollout of the mobile networks. The density is increasing. I don't have the figure right now, but there are about 98 million Nigerians, last time I remember, who are, online, even in the rural areas. Can government look at that using even telemedicine, using the mobile networks to reach out in their campaign? Is that not a...
That is what we talked about a few minutes ago. Like I said, when you go to places like in the southeast, all you see is billboards of political campaigns and politicians. If we use the television, the social media, push out campaigns. There's this campaign called Know Your Numbers.
In Nigeria or abroad?
In the UK.
Okay,
So that's encouraging people to know their blood pressure numbers. Because blood pressure is recorded in two numbers, the systolic and the diastolic. The systolic is the top number, and which depicts the pressure at which your heart pumps blood around your body. And then the diastolic is the resistance to that blood flow. So, and it is considered to be high. Your blood pressure is considered to be high if your systolic is 140 and above, or your diastolic is 90 and above. So people are encouraged to know their number. If they ask you, what's your number, and you say the last time you checked, you're 140/90, then you're hypertensive. If you're hypertensive and you also are at risk of developing kidney failure. 25 million people in Nigeria suffer from kidney failure.
Wow.
And this is due to high blood pressure. You see, there was a review of about 53 studies, and it's reported that a quarter of all emergency admissions to hospital, a quarter, is hypertension related. You see, it's a big thing in Nigeria. People need to know their number. People need to encourage their parents. People who are, I keep saying, over 40, they need to know their number. They need to make lifestyle changes. Stop eating too much salt. In Nigeria, we drink like it's sports. In the East, people drink just to show their financial prowess, and that is wrong. 3 units of alcohol a day for a man, 2 units of alcohol a day for a woman is sufficient. You don't have to drink 14 bottles and prove to the world that you're Odogu. That's not beneficial to your health. You see, exercise 30 minutes a day, brisk walking if you can't go to the gym. It's healthy.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Nigerians. Wherever you are, whether you're Nigerian or wherever you are on the planet, what is your number? It's not 0009311. There's a song like that, But you need to know your number, not just for your blood pressure. You need to know your number for your sugar. Do your sugar,
blood glucose,
blood glucose. Yeah, you need to get those numbers, and also there are other more complicated numbers. The next time we can talk about, which is the body mass
index.
Sure. That's very important. Those numbers are very critical. Not just to know your account number, not just to know your telephone number. You need to know your other vital statistics. Thank you very much,
Thank you, sir.
Pharmacist Benson.
Thank you.
And the joke I cracked with him, his name is Benson, I'm Hedges. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you back in
Please,
Nigeria again.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it. So till next time, NNH Moments with Ashley. We'll have more exciting people, more exciting topics, and more crazy bombs to drop on them. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.